Two Rivers Talks is brought to you by Two Rivers Biz Starts. Also by Two Rivers Main Street. And by Raleigh Point Economic Advising. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome everybody, this is Two Rivers Talks, and I'm Todd, and this is my dear friend Darla. And we are here at the Vasilishka Bibbles Art Gallery doing our regular show. This is a very special interview show that we have going on. Two Rivers Talks, if you haven't been here before, it's about all things Two Rivers. Whether you're from here, used to be from here, thinking about coming back here, which you should if you've left and you haven't come here, or you're just thinking about moving here for the first time, you're going to learn all about what's happening in the city. News, arts, fun, just the cool things that make this a really unique and awesome place to live on the lakeshore. So we have a really special guest here today, Darla, and I know I've been out to see the facility that he runs on a number of occasions, and it's really cool. We're going to be speaking to Mr. Jim Knickelbine, who's the executive director of Woodland Dunes Nature Center and Preserve. Right. And there's some exciting stuff happening.
There's a lot happening with them.
Yes. So if you don't know anything about Woodland Dunes, stay tuned because you're going to learn all the cool things that are happening as well as the expansion of their facility here. So stick with us and we will be right back. Do you want me to? Mm-hmm. All right. I'll do that.
Okay.
And we're back, everybody, and we are very, very fortunate to have our next guest on the show, Mr. Jim Knickelbine, the director of the Woodland Dunes Nature Preserve. Yes. And we are hearing all kinds of great things about what's happening over at Woodland Dunes. Maybe for those people living under a rock and have not heard of Woodland Dunes, could you maybe introduce what the preserve is all about?
Sure. Woodland Dunes is a 1,500 acre nature preserve. We're a nonprofit organization. We're open to the public. We have 7 miles of trails that are accessible all the time, every day from dawn till dusk. We also do education programs about nature. So several thousand people come out every year. School kids come out for field trips. And we have a lot of family programs as well to talk about the amazing wildlife that we have here along the lakeshore.
Right. And that's year round too, because I know you had some really outstanding winter events. It's not just summer, spring, and fall, it's winter too.
Yeah, winter's a great time to get outdoors, and especially for evening hikes and snowshoe events and things like that. We do a lot of that in the wintertime, and it's really eye-opening for a lot of people who don't think about going outside necessarily in the dark in the wintertime, and it turns out to be a really interesting experience.
Oh, I bet.
Now a lot of people think about like a nature preserve and say, oh, well, that's nice, I can go and maybe hike or do that, but Woodland Dunes is actually pretty distinctive in terms of its geography and biodiversity, isn't it?
Yes, we really are, and I'm very thankful for the people that founded the place almost 50 years ago. Okay. They realized that they were seeing more birds here and more species of birds here than other places in Manitowoc County, and they kind of stepped back and looked and realized that birds migrate along the shore of Lake Michigan. During migration, they need places to rest and feed. And here's this big chunk of habitat right between the cities of Two Rivers and Manitowoc that was perfect for them. And within that chunk of habitat are ridges and swales that were formed by Lake Michigan when it was much higher, like 5,000 years ago. Okay. And they created a very complex series of dry land and wetlands, all interspersed, all intermingled, creating places for hundreds and hundreds of species of plants to live. the lake cools our region, so that plants will live here that think they're up in Canada or in the UP.
Okay.
Plus, we also have plants that are adapted to more southern areas, and they're all growing next to each other in this wonderful, complex mosaic of habitats. And that's what gives rise to all the birds and other animals that
Right.
like to live here too.
And I know one thing that working with, it was the Green Bay Packers,
Yes.
wasn't it? You have some tree planting
Yes.
coming up. You want to talk to us about that?
We do. Well, unfortunately, the emerald ash borer will have a big impact around here. We have a lot of ash trees in the wetter parts of our preserve. We know that they're not going to survive. That started us thinking, what could we do about that? And one thing is to diversify the species of trees a little bit more in that wet part of the forest. So we've been planting trees. This is our third year,
Okay.
and we've gotten about 6,000 pretty good sized trees already planted. We've got another 2,500 this year to put in, but as a result, yeah, it's a lot of work, and we have some wonderful young interns that are incredibly strong by the end of the summer. But in the long term, it really will make a difference in that forest and allow a lot of the creatures that live there now to be able to survive.
Okay, what are some species of trees that you're planting right now?
Swamp white oak, silver maple, those are species that are adapted to real wet soils.
Okay.
Hackberry, there's about 36 species altogether that
That's
we're
gonna be
putting in.
cool.
So, yeah, it will be very interesting over time.
And that was through the Packers.
They were part of it.
Yeah.
The U.S. Forest Service also granted us funds for that. Actually, probably half a dozen partners
Okay.
contributed to this effort, and a lot of people from the community volunteered to help. I spoke of our interns, but there are high school kids and people from the Rotary and
Okay.
all different community groups.
Fantastic.
It's very gratifying for us to have the help and to be able to work with such nice people.
That's wonderful.
It really is.
You had alluded to all the species of birds that,
Mhm.
that come down and migrate along the lake here. Now there's a big birder, I think I'm saying it right, birder event that's going to be coming up. Is that right?
Yes, although unfortunately it's being postponed because
Oh,
because of the
virus
coronavirus.
considerations.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
See, I thought that would have been far
And-
enough out where,
yeah. The organization, the Wisconsin Society for Ornithology, because of the demographic, a lot of the people are retired and things like that,
Sure.
and they thought it would be better to wait on that
That's the
for a
first
little
groups. Yeah.
bit. Yeah,
so are they gonna just put it out later in the year and you're still gonna have it here?
probably a different year.
Oh,
Yeah, we might wait a year or two.
Okay.
But yes, we were very excited about
I
that.
know.
And we
Right.
still are, and it's still gonna happen. It's fun to introduce this area to bird watchers who haven't been here.
Sure.
We have, this combination of beautiful forests and some wonderful grasslands, and then the shore of Lake Michigan and the rivers. Both of the rivers here are excellent places to go bird watching. So you can find literally hundreds of species of birds here. About 300 have been recorded altogether. But there have been days that we used to do our own, what we would call a big day, and we would go out for 24 hours, and we would find more than 100 species of birds just in a day.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's pretty unusual for a region to have that many species.
Yes,
readily findable. Yeah.
our place is exceptionally rich, this whole area. And a lot of that has to do with the lake.
Okay.
It attracts that extra cadre of birds that you don't find in other places.
Right.
Pelicans are a good example
Yeah,
right now.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they showed up.
That was so amazing
yeah.
when my wife and I saw them for the first year, and just kind of seeing a line of them flying
Yes.
down along the lake. Wow, so cool.
They're so efficient when they fly.
They're amazing.
But that's a western bird that has shifted to the east and is including our area in their habitat now.
Well, I was just gonna say that at Christmas, you guys did a Christmas bird count.
We do. Yeah.
And so do you have like big day bird counts like at different times of the year just to see who's living amongst us, you know, like fall, summer, spring?
Yeah,
You know?
we actually do bird surveys throughout the migration season. We have a number of distinct points that either our staff or volunteers will go to and count birds for so many minutes and then keep a running total of that. We also, during the nesting season in the summertime,
Okay.
we will go out and do either points or routes within the preserve to document what birds are nesting there during the summertime. And that's been going on since like the 1960s, they started. So it's very valuable to have that data for 50 years to be able to look back at that and see what changes are happening with bird life.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very interesting, and we're really sorry to hear about the Ornithological Society kind of hitting the brakes here, for, giving it a little rest before they go forwards.
Yeah.
But I can totally understand it, and
I think it's good to be cautious about it, and by next year when they come, the Cobblestone will be built.
Yes.
There'll be additional hotel capacity.
Yes.
So it's going to even be bigger and better by next year.
Yep. And there will be more options for people that come.
We'll have our culvers open and everything.
Yes.
So they can
Have fun.
they can watch the birds and eat ice cream. What more would
Sounds
you
like having
want?
me.
It's
And one thing I had started kind of planning for this year, and I was kind of getting behind, we're gonna have bird art. I've already reached out to some artists who paint birds.
Nice.
And to do that, so now I have a little breathing space where I can actually, we should talk, maybe
We
get
really
me in
should.
touch with some people, but to put in an exhibit here
Yes.
that focuses more on our little flying friends.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great. Please.
Awesome.
So there's just so much happening with you guys right now. So tell us a little bit about this drawing you brought with us here. Because I know I had a chance to come out last week and see the press conference that you ran, but this is a big deal.
Yes, for us it is. It's our first capital campaign. We've been housed in an old farmhouse forever, since actually 1977. And we had added one public room to that about 30 years ago. Now we're to the point where we do have a lot of school groups coming out, and we have other community groups that want to meet at the same time or have us do a program. We're running out of room.
Okay.
So fortunately, some of our supporters very generously offered a matching grant to get things started. We've done some fundraising, and we're still in the midst of that. But because of the timing of our activities, we began construction last fall, and we're adding actually about 5,000 square feet to the nature center.
That's huge.
We'll have we'll double the size of our community room that we have there.
And it's all added on to the original farmhouse.
It is. We wanted to retain the old farmhouse, especially our staff is very attached to the old place.
Sure.
Of course.
And even in the new addition, for example, there's a fireplace, and the mantle is the beam from an old barn that was on the property that we repurposed for that. So And there'll be things like a kitchen and a new reception area and a better flow of traffic. Will reroute our driveway and parking so
Okay.
that the school buses can stay far away from the farm machinery that we use and things like that. We'll just make everything work better.
And when do you think the renovation's gonna be completed?
In a couple months.
Okay.
Maybe late April. They're really moving along well on it right now.
It's looking really nice inside, and especially the I don't know what you call it, the reception room. Or
Yes.
When you walk in there, just a high peaked ceiling and the glassed in sides. You know, the kind you can walk through and go through where the butterfly garden is.
Yes,
now.
exactly.
So nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just very uplifting. It's nice
Okay.
modern architecture. It's going to be a really nice welcoming center.
So I'm Jim Knickelbine. I'm the director here at Woodland Dunes. When we were organized in 1974, you know, our goal was to protect the land, the natural habitat between Manitowoc and Two Rivers, and to provide education for school kids. Basically, it was those two things. And we were organized as a 501c3 nonprofit, and we, since 1977, have operated out of that old farmhouse on the west side. Thanks to some matching grants that we were able to find from the Alea family and also the West Foundation, we were able to start this process of adding on to the existing nature center and moving forward. We've been especially appreciative of the work that we've done with SMI. I know there are a couple of their guys here who had the vision. They're the engineers and architects and planners that were able to look at this piece of ground and imagine what a nature center could look like here. And also Hammond Construction. I know Steve is here, and there are a few other guys that have just been great to work with for all of us. So we're hoping to complete the addition in the next several months before our busy spring and summer schedule begins. We've got a lot of kids signed up for programs coming up in the near future. Fortunately, the ones right away are going to be in the forest doing maple syrup a little bit of ways from this location, but so we have some time to get things finished. But we also have a ways to go to meet our fundraising goals, and the purpose of this event is to make the public aware of what we're doing here. We've been working behind the scenes, as I said, with the Allier family and West Foundation and 80 other individuals, give or take, and businesses who have contributed so far and have gotten us well on our way to our goal, but we still need to raise some funds to finish this off. So we're asking those who have supported Woodland Dunes in the past and throughout the years to help us reach what is a very ambitious goal of a little more than $2 million for the whole project, and to help us carry our nature center into the future. Other people who are going to speak here also, I'm going to hand it over to Gregg Buckley, who's the city manager from Two Rivers. Thank you.
For the city of Two Rivers, I'd really like to thank Jim, the board here at Woodland Dunes, staff, volunteers, all the people that make this place tick. I'm honored to represent the city council and our city staff here today. We're very proud of the partnership that our community, our city government has with Woodland Dunes Nature Center. There are so many unique attributes of this place that we call home that are preserved, protected, restored by Woodland Dunes. You're great stewards of those resources, and you know, the magic of this place is the interplay of land and water. And as a city, in recent years, we've been using the phrase turning our faces back to the water, to the origins from whence Two Rivers came. And you know, we celebrate those increasingly become important in terms of quality of life and economic development. It's not just the soft stuff, it's not just the concern for purely environmental issues, but very real economic contributions of those resources. You know, we're thrust out on this point in Lake Michigan. We have a sandy shoreline washed by the waters of the lake. We prefer not inundated. We're a little concerned about that, but washed at least. The two rivers, of course, coursing through the community, coming together at the harbor and then flowing commingled into the big lake. Those river sheds are protected by the wetlands, pretty much the whole west side of the West Twin under the stewardship of Woodland Dunes. Those wetlands protect our water resources, clean up some of the damage done by both our urban and agricultural uses along those waterways. Woodland Dunes has heightened awareness of the importance of protecting that watershed, being aware of things like nutrient loading, runoff issues, have been great partners with the city as we've embarked on our stormwater treatment initiatives, which are ongoing. Of course, you take in the ridges and swales of historic Lake Michigan as they fan out back from the shoreline. And Woodland Dunes isn't just the capable steward of these resources, but with its staff and volunteers, we recognize you educate the community in Two Rivers, Manitowoc, and beyond about the significance of those resources, how we can protect them, how we can heal and restore them where we've done damage.
I am Jason Ring, the Executive Director of the Manitowoc Area Visitor and Convention Bureau, and I'm thrilled to be here to help show off this great new expansion to Woodland Dunes. Coming today, I thought, you know, I should look up and see just how important birders are to tourism, what kind of a role they play, and this facility is going to help them. What I learned is that nationally, birders spend $41 billion annually on trips and equipment. It's that trips part that we really love, is being a host for these birders. And then what local communities benefit from birding is $14.9 billion, and they spend that on food, lodging, and transportation. Probably some drinks go along with that too after a long day of birding. I also learned that Wisconsin has over 400 species of bird that have been recorded here, and that number actually continues to rise as we have new species coming into our area or being spotted or found. Wisconsin birders average 95 days of birding a year. And if we could just get them all to come here to the Two Rivers to do their birding, I don't know, 10 days, I think that'd be pretty good. The impact there would be great. And what I learned too is that while birders spend a great deal of money when they do it, you do not need a lot of money to get started in birding. You need three things. You need a pair of binoculars to help you spot your birds. You need a field guide that will help you identify them. And you need a journal, or as technology goes today, you could get an app to track your birding as well. And all of that you can have for under 150 bucks. So all of us in this room that aren't birders yet, we could be very easily becoming birders in our community. So the other thing that you have to have is you have to have the right habitat for birding. And we are so very fortunate in our community to have one of the best birding habitats in Wisconsin, one of the best birding habitats in the Midwest, one of the best birding habitats in the world. And we really have seen that from the number of visitors that we've had come from all over to experience that here.
It provides our students with a first-hand opportunity to gain a deeper understanding and appreciation for the natural world. This preserve is a natural classroom and provides our students with so many opportunities to actively engage with their surroundings, allowing them to learn and explore our world right in our very own backyard.
And so to give them the opportunity to do that. And now Woodland Dunes has not just school programs, but we start with preschool programs. There's a lot of kids who come here of all ages, and we have adult learning too. We have various speakers all throughout the year that come, that adults can come all for free. So first of all, I want to thank all of the people that are involved in Woodland Dunes, because we have a staff of 6 people that are permanent, 2 of them are part-time, and a few summer interns, college kids that come and help us out. And then we have the volunteers, so not only what I just mentioned, teaching, but also building boardwalk sections, weeding the butterfly garden, planting trees, lots of trees, and lots of ordinary people that make extraordinary things happen here. And even though we're all about our wonderful preserve here, we try to get people out in it, we also do need this indoor space. And right now, all we have is the one room that you're sitting in that's big enough to actually have people here. So there have been times that we've had to cancel events because we didn't have enough space if the weather turned bad. Or when all the kids get off the school bus, if it's not enough space, we have a real problem. So that's how we came about that we need the new addition. I think you're all gonna appreciate that we'll have a parking lot. We'll be out in front here, so you won't have to park in the gravel mud in the back. So when we finish today, in addition to taking a tour of the new part, we have a drawing here, the architect's original drawing, where you can kind of get an idea of what it will look like and how the parking will be in front with room for school buses and everything.
Do you ever hold, or are weddings or wedding receptions ever held?
Sometimes.
Okay.
We've actually, the farmhouse was the Rumlow family farmhouse from a long time ago, and Rumlow relatives still come, and they tend to be the ones that want to get married out on the property.
That is really cool.
It really makes us feel good.
I bet.
There's still a connection to the original settlers.
And how old is the farmhouse? When was that built originally?
Boy, it's hard to say, but like 150 years.
Holy cow.
It's quite old. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a 2-family house. Down and upstairs there were apartments.
Okay. Oh, I'll be darned. I wanted you to tell us a little bit about the telemetry tracking that you're doing
cool.
with your birds right now. I'm
Yes.
getting back to birds a little bit, but
Sure. We've always been a bird banding station. So
is that where you use nets and you capture them?
we do.
Okay.
Yep. I'm a federally licensed bird bander. We do occasionally set up the nets, catch birds, carefully take them out, measure them, identify them, species, male or female, how old, and then put an aluminum band on their leg that has a unique number, and then release them.
Right.
And then cross our fingers that somebody else finds that bird, another bird bander catches it and records. And then that way we learn where they travel and how long they live.
Okay.
Lately in Canada, they've developed this telemetry system that whereby you put a tag on a bird that has a little transmitter and a
Okay.
battery, and it's worn like a little backpack.
Okay.
And in that way, you can catch that bird, release it with that transmitter on, and as it moves, there are points that have receivers that will continuously record data about that bird.
Okay.
There are only a handful in Wisconsin right now. We're one of 2 in the mainland part of Wisconsin. There are some up near Superior and Ashland, Duluth, that area. But there are only 2 on Lake Michigan,
Okay.
down the shoreline.
Wow.
We're one of them. We just got our system installed last fall, and we went, and you have to go and recover a card out of it, a memory card that stores the data. And we found 3 birds that had been recorded. 2 of them had been tagged in British Columbia
Okay.
and migrated to the east all the way to the Great Lakes, then came down Lake Michigan, and then continued on to the south.
Okay.
And the 3rd bird was a little larger bird, wading bird, that had just been everywhere, like Bermuda and
Really?
all over the East
Wow.
Coast, and looked like this bird had a lot of fun, but.
Takes better vacations
Yeah.
than I do.
But it's fascinating. It's something that's really cutting edge, and now is to the point where it's affordable for a facility like ours.
How much does a little backpack cost?
Each one is like $300.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say it was more than that. That's not really too bad.
Not too long ago, they were significantly more.
Okay,
We haven't been placing the transmitters on birds yet.
Okay.
We are just recording birds that
Gotcha.
are tagged in like Canada and
Oh,
come
okay.
down here.
okay,
There are, in total in the United States and Canada, there are about 500 of these stations.
okay.
There are more being added all the time. So we're getting a better and better picture of where birds go.
I'd love you to put a little backpack on a hummingbird because they have a fascinating voyage,
They do.
you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, some of them go right across the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it'd just be
And
very, very cool.
You wouldn't think that they could even do that.
I know.
No, wait a second. Can you actually band a hummingbird?
You can, you need
Wow.
a special license. The bands or the tags are very tiny.
I bet.
But yeah, it can be done. They have tags that are small enough to put on dragonfly or
What?
monarch butterfly.
Really?
No
yeah.
kidding.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
And that keeps improving every year too.
That's amazing. Well, everything is micro,
I
Yes.
suppose so, right?
you know, and what's after micro? Uber micro. I don't know, but I mean,
No, you won't be able to see it. It'll be so small.
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But,
Wow.
yeah.
So on the topic of birds, one of the things that Nancy Maybeck had told me, who does fundraising for Woodland Dunes, said, something that most people don't know about birding as a hobby is that it's like a multi-billion-dollar
Oh, it is.
industry. Like it brings a lot of economic value to places where people come and visit to do this. So for people that are watching that aren't birders, for them to say, oh well, ho hum, it's nice that those guys are coming here. It's a big deal that they're coming here because it brings a lot of economic prosperity to the area every time those groups come in.
Right.
Yeah, they spend money. Even people that come for the day. We have a lot of people that come to visit us that live within a day's drive, but they come here, they get something to eat, they put gas in their car.
That's right.
Hopefully they shop here or at Schrader's or
Well, they discovered the
something.
community and they discovered that lake
Yes.
and that beach, and it's like, we didn't know that was here. We're coming back.
Yeah.
You know, and also over to Woodland Dunes,
Yeah.
because you've got a spectacular place. I mean, it's just stellar. It is just gorgeous, and it's really exciting with your expansion.
Yeah, we are really excited every time we welcome people from far away. We have a logbook, of course, and you
Yeah.
see people from all over the country that are traveling around looking for places where they can experience, local nature. It's different everywhere.
Right.
And a nice thing about bird watching is that it doesn't require a lot of technical equipment or anything like that. If you have binoculars and a bird book,
Right.
you're pretty well set, and you can go out on an adventure and find beautiful places to hike. We have so many around here. Our place in Point Beach and Mariners Trail and the new trail down by the harbor here,
Right.
and there are just many opportunities to do interesting things. So people that used to pass through here or pass by are stopping and finding that they can fill a week with
Definitely.
things to do.
I wanted to ask you now, how long have you been with Woodland Dunes?
A long time. I started as a volunteer back in the early 90s, 91 I think it was.
Okay.
And I have a degree in natural resources. So in '93 they asked if I would come on part-time on the staff, and that eventually grew.
Okay.
And back in 2004, the founder, Bernie Brusho, decided to retire, and they asked me to be director.
Well, that's very cool.
So 26 years.
Just a natural progression, the way it should be. But I mean, you earned your bones by being a volunteer and got to know the place and what it was about, and you kind of put your philosophy spin on it, and But I was gonna say, as far as birding and like with economic, influx, just with tourism and all that, it really is I did a little bit of research on it, and I was just shocked at how much money it brings in and how many people are so passionate. When you talk to a birder, they are super passionate about it.
Yeah.
And I've learned some things. I'm still trying to determine if my birds up north at our cottage are male or female. I'm looking at the pictures, I'm reading the description, and I'm like, I can't tell.
Sure, sometimes it's difficult.
Yeah, well, and is it a female or is it a juvenile male? And is it, so you really have to be well educated and have a lot of knowledge to know what you're talking about. My husband's like, okay, what did you see today? I saw birds. I don't know.
Well, and that's kind of nice because you can be as technical as you want to be about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are fine if they kind of are in the ballpark and it's one of these birds. Other people are very exacting. The gulls are an interesting group. We around here think, seagulls, big deal.
Right.
Well, especially in winter, there are gulls that come down from the Arctic, and they think this is Florida. And
Wow,
they
thought about that. Yeah.
they don't look a lot different than our resident gulls, but some of them are very rare.
Really?
Either Arctic or European gulls that kind of have
They get blown
wandered
off
over.
course?
Yeah.
Well, they're extremely efficient flyers. So
Okay.
once they start gliding, they can go all over the place, and they follow coastlines, and sometimes they end up from the ocean to the Great Lakes, and they find two rivers.
Okay.
And it's really cool.
I have a question for you. Last year I noticed that in one of my my pine trees was a whole bunch of holes.
Oh,
They were laid out in rows and columns.
sure.
So I'm assuming that was a sap sucker?
It is very good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Where in the heck did he come from? I didn't think we were a sap sucker area.
They nest around here.
They do.
Not as much as up north, but we've documented them nesting at Woodland Dunes.
Okay,
A
because I
number of
freaked
times.
out a little bit when I saw all these holes
Yeah.
being drilled into my tree. I was like,
Yeah.
it took me forever to grow that thing from a little sapling, and
sure.
now you're killing it.
Ah.
And it's okay, but it was just that one instance. And then about 2-3 weeks ago, I live in the city. There was, and I'm not sure what species of woodpecker it was, but there was one going to town on the same tree.
Oh,
But that was unusual because I typically don't see woodpeckers in town. Or am I just not paying attention?
well, a lot of times they're out in the forest where there are dead trees.
Yeah.
And they're really looking for insect larvae
Yeah,
under the bark or in decaying wood. So you don't tend to see quite as many in town.
okay.
We've seen a few of them.
There-
My in-laws have some land out in Whitelaw, and so we've got a big tree line out there, which has got a lot of dead or dying trees in that space.
Sure.
And we've seen a lot of red-headed downy woodpeckers out there, and some pileated, some pretty large ones
Nice.
that are out
Proud
there.
of yourself,
Yeah.
you just showed me up. They're birds.
No. I'd never seen a sap sucker. I wouldn't be able to
Oh,
identify
okay.
them.
Oh, yeah.
If you threw them at my face, I'd be like, "What's that?"
Well, actually, I wouldn't either, I just know that carnage taking calls.
No, that was cool. I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. So it's not unusual really to see a woodpecker in the city, it's more out in the woods. I was really surprised when I saw him, well, I heard him first. And I was like, I feel so bad for that tree.
Sap suckers are interesting in that they'll make the horizontal line of holes,
It was so even.
and they the sap then drips out
Oh,
And
sure.
insects are attracted to the sap.
Okay,
And they
oh.
eat the insects.
What a clever strategy.
It is, it works really well for them.
It was like
Yeah.
graph paper,
Mhm.
the way it was laid out, it was,
Yeah.
it was
It's
really
so
neat.
precise, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it was, I was like, that was one smart bird.
Yeah.
You know, it was, and he didn't even use a ruler, that was really cool.
Yeah.
So, well, we're really glad that you found your way as a volunteer, at Woodland Dunes, and that you've had the opportunities that you've had and been able to, have a career out there, because some of the events, and we've reported on them over the last year and a half, 2 years. What was it, the Fungi Frolic?
Sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really wanted to. I mean, how cool is that? And then you have events for children, and they get dressed up in little costumes,
yes.
and you know, your winter events where that's a magical time of the year. But to go through the woods in winter, in the dark,
Mhm.
I mean, how cool is that?
It's wonderful. And people also, often are intimidated, you know, cold and dark, we tend to just, you know, shut the door
Yeah.
and stay home.
Mhm.
I had a group early in the winter, and we went out on a hike for like an hour and a half, and we found all kinds of interesting things that you wouldn't even think you could find at nighttime.
Sure.
In the winter. But there's always something different and new and interesting in natural areas, especially forests for me.
I need to get out more.
We both do.
You know what we should do is here in the future is to do a segment out at Woodland Dunes.
Sure.
That would be really neat. We should do that. Maybe,
We'll talk.
We have some pretty spots.
yeah.
Oh, I
When the
bet.
flowers start coming out in spring.
Yeah.
you know,
Spring would be
we could-
really
we could
cool.
Definitely hit that.
Okay, well, we should talk
You're
and you give
welcome
us an
anytime.
idea as to when would be a really good time to get out there and get some footage.
Great.
Jim, thanks so much for coming out.
Well, thanks
today.
for having me.
Yeah.
It was
Now-
wonderful.
Wonderful talking to you guys.
Absolutely. And if somebody wants to learn more about Woodland Dunes, where can they go online or?
Online, woodlanddunes.org is the place to start. We're on Facebook
Right.
also, but our website has quite a bit of information about us.
You
Fantastic.
bring so much to the area. Thank you for sharing this time with us, and
Thank you for what you do.
and we definitely want to come out and see the dunes and visit with you again.
Wonderful.
Great.
Right.